On February 1st, 2025, the craziest trade in all of NBA history took place. We saw Luka Doncic go to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the first round pick. And as soon as this trade happened, it sent shockwaves not only through the world of the NBA, but throughout all of sports. I don't know about you guys, but I had friends who had never even watched basketball a day in their lives hitting me up about this trade. It was that big of a deal. How could a player like Luka Doncic get shipped to the Los Angeles Lakers after everything he had done for Dallas? And why would Dallas even want to ship Luka out in the first place? It was crazy all around. And the biggest names in this trade outside of Luka was obviously Anthony Davis, who is a pretty big talent and name in his own right. But throughout this whole trade, of course, with respect to Luka and Anthony, there's one name that gets overlooked. And that's none other than Max Christie. And I'm sure you're wondering, who is Max Christie? And what makes him so significant that he was included in a trade for arguably the best player in the NBA? Well, Max Christie is one of the more polarizing players in the NBA. No, he's not a star caliber player, but this season with the Lakers, he was one of the best role players in the entire league. He's a promising young two-way guard out of Michigan State. But that doesn't fully explain how Max got here and how good he really is. And the only way we can do that is to take a step back. And by back, I mean let's take it back to Rolling Meadows High School in Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is where Max Christie is from. Here is where he honed his skills and developed himself into one of the top players in the country. From his sophomore year onward, Max Christie was going crazy. He was averaging 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists by his senior year. This made him as one of the top guards in the entire nation. Something about Max Christie was just rare. He had a rare combination of size, feel for the game, and movement. Something that reminded you of a Devin Booker or a Klay Thompson. And when you look at him, it makes sense. He's 6'6", he had a high release point, and he can shoot the lights out of the gym. So of course he's gonna garner comparisons to Klay Thompson and Devin Booker. It just made sense. And it wasn't just that. The fact that he could shoot was enough. But he was a 3-level scorer, and he had an advanced feel for the game that you just really don't see from players at that age. I mean, how many high schoolers do you know are putting up those type of numbers in their senior year? And by the time his senior year was over, it made sense. He was a 5-star recruit, he was a McDonald's All-American, and he was ranked as one of the top shooting guards in the entire nation. So, where is he going to go to college? Where is Max Christie going to develop for the next couple of years for his life? And he chose none other than East Lansing, Michigan to play for the Michigan State Spartans. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why would a player like Max Christie, of Max Christie caliber, choose somewhere like Michigan State? Now, don't get it wrong. Michigan State is one of the best and most storied programs throughout the history of college basketball. But you had other schools like Duke and Kentucky who probably could have developed him and refined him a little bit more. But the answer is simple. Tom Izzo. Now, of course, Max Christie was very good offensively. Like I mentioned, 3-level scorer, advanced feel for the game, all of that. But his defense could use a bit of improvement. And where better to go for that than Michigan? And going into Michigan State, he was put right into a role where he was relied upon heavily. And in this role, he looked like the best players at times, as he averaged 9.3 points per game, which is pretty impressive for a college freshman at one of the top programs in the nation. Now, his jump shot translated really well, his 3-level scoring translated well, but the efficiency didn't really reflect that. He shot 38% from the field and 31% from the 3-point line. And this had a lot of NBA scouts questioning whether he was NBA ready. Because remember, coming out of high school, he was being compared to some of the top players in the NBA. And he looked the part. Nobody would bat an eye at you if you said that Max Christie had the potential to be a one and done. But after his season at Michigan State, it just wasn't convincing enough. A lot of people actually thought that he needed to stay back an extra year. But NBA teams weren't off him completely. He still had length, he still had the skill, he had the shooting, and most importantly, his defensive versatility had grown a bunch in 1 year under Tom Izzo. So despite the way he looked his freshman year and how raw one might say he still was pretty good for the NBA, and in his mind, he was good enough to enter the draft. People had complaints about his frame, but that could grow over time. People had complaints about his shooting percentage, but his jump shot was undeniable. He just didn't have the efficiency to match, and that can be worked on over time. So, Max Christie took this opportunity to enter the NBA draft. Now, a lot of teams didn't view him as a first-round pick. Despite the maturity, scoring ability, all of that, nobody really thought he was somebody capable of being picked with one of the top 30 picks in the draft. However, once pick 35 came around in the second round, the Los Angeles Lakers decided to take him on. They saw somebody who could be a long-term project, but there's no denying that his potential would be one of the best fits next to a Anthony Davis and LeBron James duo in the future. It's just going to take a little time. Now, when coming to Los Angeles, you have to realize a couple things. A, you're in the biggest market in the entire NBA. There's no market, arguably New York, but regardless, LA's arguably the biggest market in the entire realm of sports. Second thing is, the Los Angeles Lakers are in win now mode. They're not into rebuilding and retooling and building young players up. So, for a player like Max Christie, this isn't ideal. He came into a situation where he had to prove himself immediately. And this is why his rookie season, he didn't really see a whole lot of playing time with the Lakers. He was in the G League for a majority of the time. And it wasn't because he was bad, it's just because he wasn't NBA ready. And we've seen this before with plenty of players. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Jordan Poole. They just need some time in the G League to develop a little bit. And that's exactly what Max Christie did. He took this time to work on some of his weaknesses, to build up his strengths, and to build out that frame. He definitely put on some muscle throughout his time in the G League. His shooting got better, his efficiency got better, as at one point he was shooting 41% from the three. And this was great. Max Christie was becoming the exact player that people had envisioned him to be. A 3-and-D ring that could stand next and play aside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. This was phenomenal, especially the fact that he was so efficient in low minutes. Remember, that was something that people were complaining about in college. His efficiency had came into question by many people. That's why he fell to pick 35. And that's why in his next season, many fans, me included, were expecting Max Christie to have a breakout season. You just sold all these strides in your first year, so one can only hope with the increased minutes and increased usage, what could you do? For sure it could be good, especially with his play style. However, that's just not what we saw. I'm not even going to say the perimeter depth was the reason why he was buried on the depth chart. It was simply because Darvin Ham didn't play him. But Darvin Ham was fired over the offseason, and once JJ Redick was brought in, it was clear that one of his goals was to give a talent like Max Christie more playing time. And that's exactly what happened. And Max Christie responded. That breakout season that we were hoping for in year 2 is exactly what we saw happen this season. Max Christie was huge for the Lakers as he was averaging 10 points, 3 rebounds, and about 1.5 assists per game. And Max Christie was undoubtedly one of the most productive players for the Lakers. And even better, the Lakers were winning. The Lakers were no longer a team fighting for the play-in or fighting for a lottery spot. They were legit playoff contenders in the West, which is a huge milestone. In one offseason, the Lakers went from a play-in / lottery contender to legit playoff team. And large reason for that is none other than Max Christie. And a lot of Laker fans thought he would be doing this in purple and gold for the entire season. But once that phone started ringing for Luka and Rob Pelinka was offered Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis and Max Christie along with a pick, nobody even batted an eye. I wouldn't have either. And that is what sent Max Christie to the Dallas Mavericks. And so far, he has looked phenomenal. He hasn't missed a singular beat in this new system. In his debut with the Mavericks, he showed Mavs fans why he was such a fan favorite in LA and why everybody was a bit heartbroken when he was traded. He scored 15 points from 4 for 4 behind 3, showcasing that unprecedented efficient scoring ability that he has. He did this not only with a couple on-ball movements, but majority with off-ball movements, off-ball cuts, coming off screens, shooting shots. That is what made fans fall in love with him in LA. And it seems like the exact same thing is going to happen in Dallas. And on top of this, he snagged 9 rebounds and showed how versatile he could be despite being a guard. That defensive versatility that he started developing in Michigan State and continued on showcasing in LA was showing itself once again in Dallas in the exact same role. And then in the next game against the Celtics, he had yet another masterclass, coming off-ball screens, showcasing his defensive versatility, guarding multiple positions, and just being a force, whether it be offensively or defensively on the court. In his 2 games so far with the Dallas Mavericks, Max Christie is averaging 15 points while bringing down 7.5 rebounds. That's huge. For a guard to be pulling down 7.5 rebounds for your team, you have to be excited. On top of that, a player like Max Christie is a crazy threat on offense. His off-ball cuts and his ability to just get open is one that is going to be great no matter what team you're on. And it seems like it's helped Jason Kidd a lot. Of course, we saw he was devastated that Luka was traded. At that press conference, he looked like he wanted to choke Nico Harrison out. But the addition of Max Christie has seemingly unlocked a whole new part of the playbook that we really didn't get to see when Luka was on the team. Plus, Christie is just one of those players you like to root for. He just does all of the little things so correct. He does the intangibles, he can shoot really well, he knows how to get open, and he can guard multiple positions. What more can you ask from a role player? Now, although Max Christie hasn't yet cracked the starting lineup for the Dallas Mavericks, there's no doubt in my mind that he will eventually. As, in my opinion, he's going to develop into one of the best players on this Mavs team. And it kind of softens the blow a little bit for Mavs fans. Although Nico Harrison will always be known as the GM who traded Luka Doncic, no matter what happens, it kind of helps to know that he got a player like Anthony Davis and a hidden gem like Max Christie in return. On top of this, Max, next to AD and Kyrie, should be very beneficial for him as well. He can learn and continue to develop those off-ball skills and continue to guard multiple positions defensively, showcasing that defensive versatility that we all love. And this is phenomenal. Before this trade, the Mavs needed a couple of things. They needed perimeter defense and they needed floor spacing. And guess who brings those 2 things? Max Christie. His ability to switch on defense and his ability to shoot and do a little something with the ball in his hands is phenomenal. And who knows what he can develop into in the future. Of course, you still have Kyrie there, you have Anthony Davis, but he kind of has more wiggle room in Dallas, it feels like. And although I'm not saying he will, I wouldn't be too shocked if in the next couple of years, with his development, he continues to grow and grow into a player that might reach the caliber of a Mikal Bridges, a Chris Middleton, where although he's not a perennial all-star, perennial all-NBA player, he's still pretty good and looked at as one of the better players in the entire NBA. And I'm rooting for Max Christie. I hope Max Christie does his best in Dallas. I enjoy watching him play for the Lakers, and I think he truly will develop into one of the best role players in the entire NBA. He has the perfect skill set for it, and he's making great strides toward it so far. But that's just what I think. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments, not only about this video, but about Max Christie as a player and his fit in the Mavericks. I know none of us really like the trade for Luka Doncic unless you were a Lakers fan, but I feel like Mavs fans can be kind of appreciative for Max Christie and what it is. I've already been seeing on Twitter a bunch of Mavs fans praise Max Christie for a lot of things I talked about in this video. So make sure y'all keep that same energy in your comments. Let me know what y'all think. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure you like. And I'm making videos like this all the time. So if you're liking, you might as well subscribe as well. But that's all I got. And until next time, peace.